Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to my overview of Ready or Not Home Invasion. So this is the DLC that's just come out. Now broadly when I do overviews, which is the format of this channel, I just have a look at the first 2 hours of a game because it's the Steam refund window. I believe the refund policy is almost non-existent or at least different when it comes to DLC refunds. However, it's my shtick, I'm sticking with it. And also, probably as part of the preamble, I did review Ready or Not late last year, whenever it came out. I've put probably 50 hours into it now, so obviously I'm a big fan. You can go back and check that out. But yeah, great game, both single player and multiplayer, and you don't have to necessarily be a tactical shooter enthusiast, because I'm not really. I'm a bit more casual and I still love it. So yeah, I've put 2 hours into Home Invasion. I jumped in with a buddy of mine who happened to be around, and we're probably going to get the full 5 stack going in the next couple of days. So far, is it worth your time, worth your money? Absolutely. It is primo content added on. It's probably worth pointing out it's going for what, $14 Australian, which isn't that much, I guess, for DLC. It comes with a couple of new maps. So there's 3 new maps, 3 new weapons, a pistol, a submachine gun, and a rifle. But the submachine gun's more of a tricked out pistol, if anything, and a few sort of cosmetics. Now, the interesting thing that they're doing here is that I believe all the weapons are just free anyway, so you don't have to get the DLC. This is sort of like, you see this with a lot more studios now, where they will accompany a paid DLC alongside free updates as well. So as best I can understand, those 3 weapons are free anyway. The DLC maps, as long as the host of the lobby has the DLC, everyone else can play on those maps as well, which is great. That's very cool as a value proposition. And as far as the cosmetics, that's only really available unless you buy the DLC yourself. Which again, this sort of, in my estimation, this is a pretty good way of doing the DLC and value all round. I'm actually a big fan of if you can put like dozens of hours into a game and they give you a cosmetic pay the devs extra option. That's a cool thing. I don't mind that. So this sort of has aspects of it all. So if you've got a bunch of mates and you're not really super interested in playing it unless you're playing it with the boys, just tack on to the main dude that buys the DLC and you can, piggyback off of him and play the content essentially for free. Now, before I go into it, because I'll talk about the maps and all that a little bit, performance issues. In my 2 hours, I had it crash like 3 times, and I'm pretty sure it was whenever I completed a mission. I know at least 2 of them were, and it might have been all 3. Now, if you can fail the mission and get a bad rating, and that's how I got ratings in mine, but I would just say be very aware of that they seem to have patched in something pretty critical. It could be a multiplayer-only issue. I haven't tried the single-player campaign or anything like that. Just be aware of that. That was a bit disappointing, and honestly, we agreed to regroup and get our group together in a couple of days or tomorrow, and hopefully they quick patch this out, because it seems like a pretty big problem if it's affecting people beyond just me. So the centerpiece is the 3 maps. The 3 weapons are okay, I'm not a real gun enthusiast, which is hilarious being ex-military. I don't really care. It's like being a hammer enthusiast as far as I'm concerned. I don't care what brand of hammer you've got, it's a tool for a job. But there's a DM4, sort of like a carbine rifle, and that seemed to go alright. 509 pistol, same thing, and this MP17, though it's named something different in the game, it kind of looks like a Vector, and it's kind of, unless you particularly like pistols, it's kind of hot garbage, but hey, it's there if you want to use it. The 3 missions are called Dorms, Lawmaker, and Narcos. That's how they're presented in order. There is a separate menu now for the DLC, so when you do pick things and queue up, you can just pick from one of those 3s. Dorms is kind of, a hop house drug den full of bloody naked junkies, and I saw one of them slithering through one of the cracks in the wall. All this time, I didn't realize that enemies could do that. Maybe they could always, and I just hadn't noticed, but that was kind of terrifying. They can get through these cracks that you can't secure. I don't know if you're aware, but once you get really sweaty with a 5 stack that are switched on comms, you start wedging doors and really controlling traffic flow of what the enemy can do. And to know that they can slip through those cracks was a bit of a wake-up call. But yeah, so that's actually like bigger than we thought. This is the experience going in. It's a 2-story, very big kind of apartment complex. A lot of these rat holes through walls and angles, and just full of all these horrible, gross junkies. It's not just knives, they're rocking ARs as well, which is a bit of a surprise. So that was actually tricky and big, and it kind of set the scene. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is more than I was expecting. And then we went into Lawmaker, which is kind of like a mansion that's been taken over and there's a siege going on. We were actually getting a bit of an issue bugging out with the briefings, so I'm only a bit brief on the briefs, but it seems to be like some bloody Just Stop Oil friggin' activist hippie losers that are in the mansion. And, you know, the world building, if you've played Ready or Not before, the best thing about this game, well, it's hard to say, there's a lot of good things, but the way that they build environmental storytelling through the world and what's going on is really quite amazing. Probably the best environmental design that I've seen, full stop. Yeah, so like they've splashed bloody oil and paints and shit all over the place and around, and that's actually really quite moody. Probably the one I played the least of. But again, really big level, bigger than I was expecting. And then the last one we put a bit of time in, which was called Narcos. And the backstory from what I understand there is that there's an undercover cop in some sort of Latino mob situation, but he's kind of been outed and you're going out to the house to rescue him. And, you know, some pretty graphic, like, here's where they tortured the dude. And, you know, I don't want to actually give it away. But the cool twist was it's not just like someone's house, because you get some of those small vignette missions. I assumed we were going out to one house, but you're going out to like a community block, and it immediately gave me vibes of, you know, like Training Day. And my mate actually pointed out it's very much like End of Watch, which was particularly funny because yes, he's right, but I also checked if there were any achievements added, and we started going for an achievement called Beat Cop, which was where you could only use pistols, no grenades, no nothing like that. So the two of us were basically reenacting End of Watch, except with snub-nosed revolvers instead. Very cool, very cinematic, especially that last mission, and tough as well. Very difficult to clear, big sprawling open, basically a neighborhood that you're going through. Anyway, look, I don't need to waffle, but that's what the content is in there, and I think it's worth it. I think it's absolutely worth it. And even if you may be a bit funny about it, a lot of the way it's engineered is that maybe only one of you really has to buy it in a group of 5 dudes to get the experience. But as far as I'm concerned, the devs deserve the money because it's a great game, and I'm happy I bought it as soon as it dropped, basically. So yeah, there's my overview of Ready or Not Home Invasion. Pretty cool. Exactly what you would probably want from a DLC. As I said, just keep an eye out for the bugs. Be very careful. It may just be a multiplayer lobby issue thing. Hopefully it goes away shortly. Otherwise, yeah, this game's great. Might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.